temple, or shall we say... Yeah, we shall say the Temple of Speed, because the Cathedral of Speed is a completely different track entirely. The Temple of Speed has always been a home for motorsports. Ever since 1950, when it hosted its first Formula One race, it has been forever a staple in racing circles. But beyond here, we're talking about drivers who have seen that cycle, have seen some of the great vehicles come and go at this wonderful circuit. It's the dawn of a new season at the 60 Plus Racing Adventures. We are here at Autodromo Nazionale Monza for a fantastic 2 races worth of action for you on iRacing Live, brought to you by RaceSpotTV. Hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the Observer of Sim Racing, joined by David Haynes. David, what are we looking to expect coming up from this first race?
Well, Monza, you say it, and it carries a lot of weight with it, but it also carries a lot of draft. I'm expecting long straights, high speeds, and a lot of work with the draft in these Pro Mazda racing cars.
Well, a lot of draft needed, but qualifying has been completed, and the grid shall be as follows for the first of 2 races here this evening. Jos van der Ven will start on the pole position with Mark Robertson in second. Andrew Fiedler will start from third with Stefan Rosgen, the reigning champion, in fourth. Bill Lawrence starts fifth with John Unsby sixth. Jay Frills and Remigio de Pasqua are seventh and eighth. Gianni Raspaldo starts ninth with John Morgan, shall we say Captain Morgan, in 10th place. Bruce Poole, Manning Grinnan, Kenneth Baldwin and Franz Brink make 14 with Richard Coulomb, David Riley, Gerard Valorisson and Fred McIntosh running at 18. Joel Martin, Ralph Kemmerer, Ronald Overbay, Robert Sklenka, and then you've got William H. Lee, Richard Valley, Charles Gilly and William Stark. PJ Sally, Mark Luzon and Larry Thomas are yet to set times as the grid procedures go. 29 here for the opening race of the evening, as drivers look to get ready for a very, very tough challenge. It's tougher in terms of breaking away here as the green flag drops. And let's get ourselves underway for the first race of the night. And Rosgen has got a fantastic start from the second row. The reigning champion already up to third and looking to go 3 wide as he pushes himself to second as the track narrows down towards the Variante de Retafilo for the first time. And it's still going to be Robertson on the outside holding that position, but Jos van der Ven crucially clear in the early stages. Any dramas further behind? The answer is no. They've been very, very gentlemanly, except by right at the very rear. Larry Thomas and PJ Sally have run into each other. Aside from a small misdemeanor, it has been a clean start at the front, as now Robertson under pressure. Here's John Unsby looking down to the inside at the Variante della Roggia. Unsby overcooks it, but manages to get the block pass sorted there, David.
Yep, great racing behind there in the field. Jos van der Ven trying to sprint ahead, and with a 1.5 second gap nearly. I'm not sure he's quite out of draft range, but he'd be very much hoping to get that kind of gap. But behind, the racing is fierce, especially I'm looking back at Andrew Fiedler, and now Remigio de Pasqua is right up in his draft as well.
Well, it's a long, long train that stretches back to John Unsby, so positions needed here for De Pasqua, the Italian in the number 4, looking to try and make positions into Ascari for the very first time. No opportunities to go and make the moves just yet. David Riley, though, in the background goes around at Ascari and finds himself now in all sorts of trouble on the outside of a blind corner, so he'll need to get around as quickly as he can, but looks for position number 4 at Parabolica, as that's John Unsby under pressure, this time from Bill Lawrence in the 17 machine, as Lawrence desperately trying to drag himself through as one lap gets scored complete, then out of 20 here, and the gap at the front of the field is 0.8 of a second as things stand. Here comes Mark Robertson, though. He wants to get past his teammate Bill Lawrence, double toe in effect, but backs out of it, wants nothing of it here into turn 1.
Yep, there can be a bit of a false sense of security with that first turn, because the track narrows right as you're coming towards the braking zone, and you might think you've got the overspeed to make the move, but you've got to be cautious if you want to make it to the end of this 20-lap race.
And Kenneth Baldwin has been turned at turn number 1 just recently. Richard Coulomb has done the favours and has redressed the position, or is trying to redress the position, I do believe. Back to him, no, he is just slow as things stand. Here's Andrew Fiddler, though, trying to get down the inside of Robertson at the first of the Lesmos, and is unable to make that one work as he heads to Lesmo 2, and not close enough. He's got to try and pick up that run up the hill to make work. Worth noting as well, 1 pit stop mandatory in both races this afternoon. You need to be able to make them. Here's Manning Grinnan, though, on the outside of Gianni Respaldo, the number 48, as the 47 goes on the outside, getting a bit of help on the toe as well. Last of the late breakers, and it is going to be won by Manning Grinnan, who goes around the outside of Respaldo, who now puts himself under pressure from Bruce Poole.
Yep, that's Manning Grinnan up 2 places.
Sorry, that's Jay Friels. I've just seen have a massive off. Actually coming out of Scary. In fact, there were 2 offs there, because not only did Friels go off, Mark Robertson as well, smacking the curb. The sleeping policeman getting air and into the tyres. 2 drivers off, and Robertson rolled it, trying to save the vehicle.
Yeah, I'd suggest you get in trouble anytime you try and smack a policeman, but that's obviously a very dangerous curb in these low-slung cars.
It is battle for the race lead, though, as Stefan Roschen gets himself around the outside. Can he slow it down? Yes, what a puff of smoke as he moves up into the race lead. Behind that, Unsby is still maintaining his position over Bill Lawrence as he held on well through there. So race lead change all kicking off here on lap number 3 here in Monza. But here comes back Bill Lawrence going to the outside when they get to the Variante della Roggia. Jos van der Ven doesn't make the move through the left and the right, but still Bill Lawrence hoping, but again on that outside, being very, very pedestrian on that outside, unable to hold that outside line, and that's really costing, because look, that's 0.8 of a second already lost, and now Andrew Fiddler's on the attack.
Yeah, I'd suggest you need to be there's enough laps to be patient to stay in that draft and get that position back in a few laps time. You don't need to go messing up your entry through that chicane, which Bill Lawrence did just a little bit.
That's very, very true. Gianni Respaldo, though, is under pressure a little bit further down the field. He's now got Joel Martin, who started in 19th position, trying to make his way through. Respaldo was dropped behind Gerard Colorison and Fred McIntosh as well, so there's 2 positions gone for the Italian. Joel Martin not close enough to go and make that move, but what's very, very telling is that the front 2 that have broken away, Jos van der Ven has not dropped off the rear of Stefan Roschen, who has been so dominant last year, or last season even, shall I say, but now Van der Ven's got to prove that he is equal to Stefan Roschen. Gap across the line is just 0.25 of a second, and here comes Jos van der Ven in the 167, moving to the inside and comfortably getting the position ahead of Roschen, who did not want to fight for that one, not one iota.
Yeah, if these 2 guys can work together for just a little bit, they'll keep expanding that gap that got over 3rd place, and then it will just be a 2-pony show for the lead.
At the moment, John Unsby still trying to defend from Bill Lawrence, but Unsby has been absolutely by the book with his defence, and again forces driver of Lawrence to the outside, trying to make that move. He's got half a vehicle's overlap, but again breaks early into the corner, and it's just John Unsby does well, but not there on that second time, because he's going to drop 1 position and then a second as he gets all shades of sideways, trying to put the power down. He lost it trying to bring it through, maybe a little late to the turn in as well, trying to give room to Bill Lawrence on the outside, but that there was scary for John Unsby, who now has to go on the attack here to get back past Fiddler.
The change of direction, the pendulum effect caught him off guard there as he's tried to put the power down and he's squealed up those rear tyres, but he's not out of it just yet. That mistake won't be too costly.
No, it won't be just yet, but he will have to fall into line, which is not what he wants to be doing at this stage. He's just wanting to stay cautious, because there's drivers like Remigio de Pasqua who have now got themselves onto the train. Here comes Andrew Fiddler on the run to Parabolica, diving down to the inside, looking to make the move. So it's just proof there that it is an overtaking opportunity, but the up and under can be done by Bill Lawrence now on the run towards turn number 1, and he will pick up that run and do a pretty good job of picking up that run as he makes it too wide down the front stretch. They've now dropped 4 seconds to your race leaders who are battling for the race lead. Here's Stefan Rosgen down to the inside on the brakes, and they're working together. There's a bit of cooperation between the two at the front as now it's Rosgen who wants to get the lead as Bill Lawrence defends well from Fiddler. Fiddler now on the defensive tact as John Unsby tries to find a way through to Pasqua, waiting in what we like to call the cat's bird seat as he wants to try and make some opportunities work in his favour. For now at least though, it's going to be line astern as Unsby looks to attack here, David.
Yep, Bill Unsby's looking to move up this train. Meanwhile, as you said, De Pasqua behind. It's happy to be... Oh, there's contact there!
Oh, dear me, John Unsby and Andrew Fiddler coming together at the Variante della Roggia, the second chicane, and that all looked for all the money in the world like John Unsby did not get the all clear as there was still a nose being poked home by Andrew Fiddler who had nowhere to go on the inside curb. Unsby ends up an innocent bystander, and there's more issues as Richard Coulomb has been turned around as well, and that was with a returning, I believe, yeah, it was. He was trying to avoid John Unsby. So Richard Coulomb, secondary contact, all of his own accord. He was left with nowhere to go.
John Unsby's trying to get that car home, but it's crabbing very, very badly. It's not looking good. Now he's stopped and he's going to get that car towed. Gee, that contact was so big, the damage, I'm not sure he should have rejoined the track, John Unsby.
Well, I'm not sure either. Andrew Fiddler now will lose a position to John Morgan in the 177, who will comfortably make his way through. But looking at Andrew Fiddler's car, yes, there is a damaged front wing, but he is still able to pull up alongside. And this is one of the few circuits where damage maybe doesn't do as much as other places. But once more, remaining too wide and doing very, very well at this stage, trying to hit the brakes as late as possible, and does later as he moves into the right-hander, then followed into the left at the Rettifilio. Not much room on the outside, Captain Morgan. Your ship may capsize soon if you do moves like that, David. It's very, very simple. John Morgan was left with no room to go.
Yeah, indeed. Right out there onto the gravel. Get some of that onto your tyres. But it's not going to stop him because he's coming back again.
Oh, he's had 2 tyres on the grass there trying to make that move, and he was lucky he did not tag Fiddler a second time.
Exactly, as he was closing in Fiddler. John Morgan right behind there. It was very close between those 3 guys.
It is Manning Grinnan on the rear of that as well, looking to try and hold on to the situation, but for the time being at least, Manning Grinnan just wants to play that patience game, knowing that Fiddler's got damage and John Morgan's desperate to get through. Run up towards Ascari now as they pass underneath the old oval banking, on the brakes into the left-hander, and John Morgan has that one very decisively. But if there's a better pickup here from Andrew Fiddler, he could get it back towards Parabolica. Such is the way that you can change in these mid-powered vehicles, shall we say, of the Pro Mazdas, and this is why it's a joy to watch, because he's trying to pull his way back to the inside to try and make that move once more.
Manning Grinnan makes it 3 wide, and predictably there's contact there. John Morgan gets lifted up on a 2-wheel, slides out and into the tyre barrier, Jake.
Well, it was brave. It was 3 wide, and I think Grinnan just dived a little bit too deep. There was room given by all 3 of them, but Manning Grinnan just ran out of road as he looks to go through. Pit stop window is soon to be approaching as you're leading 2. Currently still stay line astern at the front. Bill Lawrence in 3rd as Manning Grinnan gets back into 4th position with that move as they are looking to try and keep themselves in play in 5th position, because Remigio de Pasqua is currently scored in 4th place. But look at this, Fiddler desperately trying to go back. This is a titanic scrap.
Yeah, exactly. Manning Grinnan's got that had a little bit of damage potentially, but it's not slowing either of these guys down. They're showing the nose through just about every opportunity. That draft is in full effect, and it's making for some very, very close racing.
Oh, you bet it is right now as drivers are thinking about, okay, pit stop window as Richard Valley comes out of pit road from 17th position. Drivers are thinking, okay, we might need to come down and make a stop. In fact, we will do, but when is the right time to do it? Monza is notorious for a high fuel usage circuit, but of course it is a shorter lap than many people give it respect for, so it means that maybe there is sometimes a little bit less fuel usage than other places. Roosjen now with Van der Ven just in front, the battle for the race lead still there, and this is where Roosjen's got to play clever. He could decide just to sit and wait here, David, and that sit and wait will save some fuel.
Exactly, and these two guys are now comfortably that 5.5 seconds ahead of Bill Lawrence in third, who's in a sort of no man's land, a ocean all to himself, another 5 seconds clear of Remigio de Pasqua. But Roosjen makes it too wide, a little bit of a telegraphed move. He gets through into the first chicane.
Ronald Overbay has spun coming out of Lesmo 2 as he desperately tries to get himself back on the same track, but Manning Grinnen right now has had himself a bit of an own issue then, and it was a spin at Parabolica. He went right a little bit wide, started to try and save it, and then spun it on the outside. Did have a little tap with the tyres, which won't be helpful for him, but now he's back behind Joel Martin, so down into 11th position, and that's not what Manning Grinnen wanted, especially with a 17-point instant limit in this event.
Yeah, that was a different one to what we're seeing. There wasn't any contact. That was just all on Manning Grinnen getting in too hot. Maybe a difficult downshift might have put a bit more stress on the rear axle, and he's locked that up, spun it, but obviously managed to continue, so the tap with the wall can't have been too fierce.
And change for the race lead as Stefan Roosjen goes back to the point. So once more, the ever-changing cycle of these two leaders, and the case of he who blinks first at this stage. Just look at Jos van der Ven, just harassing the rear of Stefan Roosjen, tucking up underneath, wanting a run here as he moves to the inside on the charge to Parabolica. This is going to be a major, major playing factor here, David, come lap 20.
Yeah, you can see there's a lot of respect between these two, because when another one shows the nose, goes to make a move, the other one lifts out of the throttle to say, you know what, not going to fight this corner, let's just keep our momentum going, I'll get back in the draft, and then we'll switch positions again at the next corner. This is almost sort of Tour de France peloton tactics.
Well, they are breaking away as Roosjen gets himself better on the brakes into one and comfortably gets himself the position that he wants at this stage. Andrew Fiedler and Richard Coulomb, there's a difference in between them, but here's John Unsby 1 lap down, trying to get past Bruce Poole and trying to show case that he has a little bit of pace, but really the battles are starting to dry up here in this race, and that's not surprising seeing that we've had a big attrition rate so far. Got a 1 lap down battle though for 27th position. It's Kenneth Bolden versus Franz Brinks for the last positions in this event.
And I love that no matter where you find yourself in the race, you're never too far from a good battle, and there's plenty of strategy still to play out. So good on these guys, enjoying themselves, having some good racing, and it's a beautiful day for some racing.
It is a beautiful day indeed. The gap between Gerard Folarisson in 9th position, Gianni Raspaldo in 8th is down to just a second right now between the pair of them. Raspaldo and Folarisson, very, very similar in terms of their abilities, and both of them being caught right now by Manning Grinnen in the number 47, despite the fact that Grinnen was half a second slower over the course of that last lap. They all have to be careful about each other because they're all trying to work to gain those positions. Back up to the front of your field though, Van der Ven versus Roosjen. He who blinks first, the halfway stage completed at the end of the next lap. And will anybody dive down onto the lane yet and sacrifice the toe? The answer is no. They will stay together for as long as it takes.
Jos van der Ven looking a little more defensive now, but still not massively aggressively. You'd have to assume that with these two guys, they're thinking about, okay, when will I take my pit stop to stay ahead, potentially break away from this other driver?
Well, that's what they've got to think about, and think about very, very closely as Marc Lozon, damaged and wounded, gets himself onto pit road. But here's Raspaldo attacking Bruce Poole. down to the inside. Bruce Poole has nothing to argue with as he gets the position. A little bit of traffic as well, and that's PJ Sally having to get out of the way of everyone here, as that was Grinnan and Florison going through. But Bruce Poole is not over and done with here in this scrap. He wants to fight back here, heading through Curva Grande, looking for the Variante della Roccia, the second chicane. And Respaldo going defensive to begin with. Bruce Poole, is he brave on the brakes? No, he's not. He'll fall into line.
Yeah, great positioning by Gianni Respaldo, saying, hey, I'm going to defend this corner. And Bruce Poole's seen that and decided, I'll stay in line, I'll wait my time, and there'll be an opportunity, I'll pass you later.
There will be that opportunity, and he's got to take it as quickly as he can if he wants to. A lot of drivers still waiting for their opening pit stop, their only pit stop, hopefully, of the day, as Florison still under pressure in that little scrap behind, as lap 10 about to be scored complete. Any takers for any takers then out of your leading two? No, they decide to stay with it, but once more Stefan Rosgen pulls himself right to the inside, looking to try and make his way through. Of course, the start-finish line here very early at Monza, and there's Stefan Rosgen making his way up into first position once more. Grinnan, though, down the inside of Gerard Florison, heading to Parabolica, and that was pretty plain sailing.
Yeah, we know that Grinnan's quick, but had that mistake that's put them further back here. So now they're just showing, hey, this is what I've got, this is what I could have done, and carving through that sort of mid-pack, bottom of the top 10 area. If they can get a good pit stop, Manning Grinnan could move up closer into, 6th or 7th position potentially.
Very, very easily he could, and that's going to be telling for Manning Grinnan, who was up as high as 4th position or 5th position at one stage in this event, as he looks to try and recover after his incident at Parabolica, his two incidents actually, shall we say, at Parabolica. But for now, next challenge, Bruce Poole, who's happily staying with Gianni Respaldo just in front. And that's going to be very, very telling for the rest of this race, as well as Kenneth Baldwin under pressure here in the final positions from Franz Brink on the brakes into one. Franz unable to make that work. It's going to be very telling for these drivers. How long do you wait to make that move? You could make the move at the last corner. You can play the fuel game. Do drivers underfuel it, knowing that they can save behind someone to battle towards the end?
Yeah, there's that, and then you've also got to consider, do you want to pit a different lap and try and break away from the other guys, or is it kind of like NASCAR Superspeedway strategies, where you're dead if you pit out of the pack and lose that draft? So that's a lot to consider with the fuel strategy here, just because of how powerful the draft is at Monza.
Dead if you do, dead if you don't. And what's telling is that Jos van der Ven did not go down the inside of Stefan Rosgen that last time by, so he will sit and he will gain an extra lap of fuel saving, which he will very, very happily take at this stage. Bruce Poole has lost the position to Manning Grinnan. Will he be able to fight that one back? They got Fred McIntosh just in front as well. That also could position Manning Grinnan on a charge. Does he think about diving down to the inside? Defensive line taken, and he's forced the man down low, and that's going to check them all up. Bruce Poole will look to take advantage. He's unable to, as he tries a cut back and doesn't get it. Joel Martin behind, fighting with Gerard Florison, and Florison under pressure here, as down to the inside goes Joel Martin. But it's all in the middle of the pack right now. Respaldo, McIntosh, Grinnan, Poole, Florison now too wide with Joel Martin, and Martin on the outside wanting to get that position and making sure he gets that position. Florison backed out.
Yeah, well telegraphed there. I have to say, this is such an exciting battle here, 6th to 11th, that all spread out a little bit, and then suddenly they've all been brought back together, and it is all to play for between, are you in the middle of the top 10, potentially looking at a top 5, or are you all the way down in 12th place? There's a lot to play for in this battle, and a lot of guys who are really close.
Oh, a lot of guys who are close indeed. Bruce Poole not done with Manning Grinnan at this stage, and he will want to try and get by as quickly as possible. Still no takers from the front of the field as they keep on battling further forward. Jos van der Ven down to the inside, wanting track position before the pit stop, and he makes sure that he goes down the inside, and Roosjen understands it and knows it. I'm not going to break away from you in this event today. I've got to do something special if I want something like that to happen. But still behind, you've got Fred McIntosh trying to stay with Respaldo, Grinnen trying to get on the rear of it as well, and these six not close enough to make a move here into turn number one, but enough to make the pressure count.
Yeah, and this is great work by Manning Grinnen, who's worked themselves back into this pack with the potential to get to redeem, as it were, for that mistake in the Parabolica earlier.
Perhaps certainly looking for redemption and looking for an opportunity here to get some points on the board early. What's also worth talking about here, David, the fact that you have 2 opportunities to score your maximum amount of points. For those who don't get a good race 1, they have race 2 where they can recover.
Yeah, indeed, and I think these drivers will be learning a lot in the first race about the track conditions, about fuel consumption, about, you know, what works, where you can pass, where you can't, to carry over into the second race.
As also going through is Gerard Larson back on Joel Martin, was able to do that one, then down into turn number 1, and that was pretty plain sailing. He had to be late on the brakes, and he's found a second wind as he's now trying to stay with the pack, but he is ultimately falling away at this stage, exactly what he doesn't want to do. Lap 13 is normally the latest we see drivers trying to angle onto pit road, but we're seeing drivers able to stay out, and I wonder here if drivers today, if there's been a rule change of any kind which says we can do all 20 laps.
I guess we'll have our eyes peeled on it and we'll find out. But the weird thing about Monza is that in time, it's a high fuel consumption track, but by lap number, it's not, because it's a very fast flowing track. So it's unlike Montreal, for example, which is a high fuel consumption by time, but not by lap number.
Well, there is no pit stop here, so it all has to be done on the track. And talking about battles on the track, Remigio de Pasqua under pressure. Andrew Fiedler now just behind and has caught in the battle for 4th place. So de Pasqua has got to go careful. There was 6/10 difference in qualifying, and on that last lap there was a full difference of 1.1 seconds. De Pasqua is not finding consistency here, David.
Yeah, so Remigio de Pasqua is one of those drivers who is sort of by themselves, and maybe that's just can't keep your rhythm like that. And some of these guys actually drive better when they're in a pack around other cars. But Andrew Fiedler's done well to close that gap, and now this is a real battle for 4th position.
As is the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, who are all nose to tail at this stage. Wide goes Fred McIntosh, through goes Manning Grinnen, who picks up another one behind, as there was Bruce Poole as well getting collected in a big incident coming out of Lesmo 1, and it was that transition from gravel to grass which caught McIntosh out. Bruce Poole, innocent bystander.
That's a real shame to break up this fantastic battle we were having, and that's not exactly what Bruce Poole would want at all.
No, it isn't. Andrew Fiedler to the outside at Parabolica, looking to try and make the move, and he's not going to be able to do it. Can he go up and under, though? On Remigio de Pasqua, he's going to pick the pocket, and you got to pick a pocket or two if you want to try and make some moves here at Monza, and he's got not enough on the top speed. John Unsby, lap traffic being a little naughty then, threading the needle, going 3 wide, unlapping himself on these drivers. That's a little bit cheeky, but he felt he was quicker, so he gets past the pair of them, but the Pasqua holds the position which he's needed to right now as Richard Coulomb waits behind.
Well, John Unsby and Richard Coulomb are on the same lap and they're battling each other. So that's what John Unsby is playing at. He's saying, okay, I'm going to unlap myself against these guys and put them between me and my competition. That's what he thought he was doing.
And to the outside again, looking is Andrew Fiedler, but he's unable to make the move and was a little bit wide heading through Della Roggia, wasn't able to cover up and getting things working. I, though, to Jos van der Ven, who is slow at this stage. Very slow. He spun on his own, trying to stay with the pack, trying to stay with Stefan Rosgen around at the second Lesmo corner, and that was all on his merry lonesome. And for Jos van der Ven, an unforced error, which has pretty much seen an unfallible Stefan Rosgen pretty much walk free now for the last 5 laps of this race, David.
Indeed, and that might put Jos van der Ven back into the grips of Bill Lawrence, who's been running a little bit of a lonely race so far, but now that gap between them is only about a second. Jos van der Ven could also lose second place and fall as far as third.
He certainly could.
Comes onto the pit lane, in fact.
Pit lane, he decides to dive, so Jos van der Ven certainly not happy at all in this situation. De Pasqua, though, holding off against Andrew Fiedler as they remain too wide, making their run down towards turn number 1 and 2, the Variante del Rettifilo. And coming out of pit road is Bruce Poole. It's 3 wide, it turns back to 2. Good management of traffic then as De Pasqua on the inside, still desperate to defend, goes in deep, and Fiedler unable to make things happen. This now the battle for the final spot on the podium, as now it is a walk away for Stefan Rosgen. 13 seconds, says he can't be beaten at the moment.
Yeah, you never want to wish ill upon your competitors, but Stefan Rosgen would be very happy with that indeed. He's just got 4.5 more laps.
Sorry, I've just had a look at Gianni Raspaldo into turn number 1. I wonder if we can get a RaceSpotTV replay on this one, because there was contact between himself and Manning Grinnan, I think, and they just tangled wheels. Raspaldo able to slow it down to turn number 1, but he had to serve the slowdown penalty, and as such, he is the worst benefactor out of it.
Yeah, Raspaldo, I've had a look at that one, and indeed, just sort of shades of Max Verstappen there, closing across and squeezing just more than one car's width on the brakes into turn 1.
Who said you were Richie Benno with that Stappen going on? But Rio De Pasqua still under pressure then, as Andrew Fiedler looks left, looks right, looks up, looks down, looks slantways, looks every which way to try and make a move. He still cannot do it. Richard Coulomb is trying to make the move as well. They're going to go 3 wide to Parabolica. Lap traffic included. They bang wheels as De Pasqua goes straight on. That's it. Day done. And De Pasqua out after that bit of contact. The front wheel buckled, and that was all she wrote. In fact, the rear wheel buckled between them, and Fiedler has taken De Pasqua pretty much as a victim on his home race.
Wow, that was a smaller kind of contact, but huge consequences indeed.
Well, it's all it needed to be, and Andrew Fiedler now takes 3rd position, and nobody can argue that one against him, because miles behind is Manning Grinnan, and that is a good 10 seconds that he will need to find in the final 4 laps, and I doubt under a month of Sundays that he would be able to find a gap, an opportunity like that one. Currently only 15 drivers are on the leading lap, and that is going to drop more and more the more that Stefan Rosgen begins chasing down other drivers again and again and again, as Jos van der Ven has now come out of pit road 1 lap down here on the field, which will be frustrating for him being so high up in the early goings. But tell you what, that's a sigh of relief for Stefan Rosgen, because it technically means he doesn't even need to run that second race.
Yeah, and what unfortunately happened in our mid-pack, though, is that we've been losing 2 or 3 cars. We've lost that really solid battle that we had going on. We have to look a little bit further down the field to see where there's some action.
Yes, and it's around Charles Gilly and David Riley. The gap between them when they last crossed the line was about 0.8 of a second between the pair. That has extended, though, over this lap, as David Riley has been struggling a little bit, currently in 9th position at the moment. Gilly started 25th and has got himself all the way up into 8th position. This has been a fantastic drive by Charles Gilly in the 66.
Yeah, there's a few guys out there who've managed to avoid carnage, avoid too much banging of wheels, and stealthily, silently, a little bit under our radar, move up into the top 10, good points positions, and just going about it with the minimum of fuss. And Charles Gilly, yes, up 17 positions from where they started. That is a good race and a nice day out any way you take it.
Any way you take it, indeed. Worth talking about your movers and shakers inside of your top 10. Fact, no driver inside the top 10 has lost positions. Rosjen +3, Lawrence +3, Fiedler exactly where he started. Grinnon's +8, Respaldo +4, +11 for Florison, +12 for Joel Martin. We were talking about +17 for Charles Gilly. David Riley is up a good 7 positions of his own, and John Morgan exactly where he started in 10th position right now, as we have ourselves only a few laps remaining in this opening race, a race which has just gone into the embers now. And we're talking about this Monza circuit. We were talking about how it could battle towards the end. We also have to talk about how this track can bite at anyone who thinks this track is easy. Yeah, it's just a couple of chicanes and long straights, but my goodness, does it make a mockery of those who dare to take this track lightly.
Exactly, there's some tricky bits, there's some unsighted bits like the first Lesmo. There's a lot of astroturfing that says, yeah, you can come out and race here, lol, I don't have as much grip as the racing surface. We saw that catch some people out through the second Lesmo, and there's nothing like that huge draft into turn 1, drivers going side by side and pressure on the brakes to give us some exciting racing.
Some very exciting racing indeed, as the West McLaren design 14 of David Riley still trying to stay with Charles Gilly. This battle going on for 8th position, and he's just about in the toe. The toe lasts around 1.2, 1.3 seconds. You don't see much effects outside of 1 second, so that's why we talk about that 1 second barrier being so important. But staying within that 1 second, exactly what David Riley needs to do, because he'll be reading around 0.2 of a second on these very long and aggressive straights.
Yeah, he gets right into the draft. I'm looking at the live speed difference. It gives him about 4 or 5 extra kilometers an hour. Slowly down the length of this straight, just pulling in that gap, and saving a little bit of fuel too while he's at it. That draft is quite useful indeed.
Yes, but it's quicker through the corners for Charles Gilly, and that's where David Riley is now finding all of his struggles, and he does not want to be struggling here with 2 laps to go. He wants to be in a position where he can attack Charles Gilly when they come to the white flag lap. Richard Valley right there has, I think, made his way past William Lee, as both of them have been lapped, as the white flag will come out for Stefan Rosjen for one final lap of 5.79 kilometers here at Autodromo Nazionale Monza in race number 1. For David Riley and Charles Gilly, though, Riley is starting to fall further and further behind, and there's not much more that he can do as there's contact behind, and that was Richard Valley who ran into Mark Robertson. That one was for position, so that one for 13th and 12th. Out on track. They were too wide coming out to the exit. Robertson saw a gap, and I just don't think that Richard Valley saw it coming.
Yeah, poor exit out of the corner from Richard Valley. He's got a bit of damage now, but then he's just eased back across when the other driver was there. Was there exactly a car's width? I don't know, but it would have been smarter to just give the room and say, yeah, I got a bad exit. Okay, I'll get back in the draft and I'll get you later.
Yeah, and well, he hasn't got much time for laters anymore, because we are, of course, on that final lap. Now just half a lap to go for your race leader. Gap between Riley and Gilly, that one is extending, and that's going to be hurting Riley at that gap of 0.9 of a second. But to the number 60 of Stefan Rosjen, who makes his way out of the Ascari chicane with 2 vehicles in tow. Robertson and De Pasqua, both a lap down, who are trying to push their way through past him. I'm not sure Rosjen's going to be too happy with this in the final stages as De Pasqua, they desperately try and get the lap back. Now Robertson has got himself through, but it will be Stefan Rosjen who picks up the win, and picks it up absolutely flawlessly. Racing against Jos van der Ven today, he wins, and he wins comprehensively, because just rounding the Parabolica now will be Bill Lawrence, who will come home in 2nd position, a full 18 seconds off of your victor, and a little bit more to add on to that as well. Official margin of gap is a full 19.7 seconds, and Andrew Fiedler will come home in third position when all is said and done. That is what I call a dominating display, David.
Exactly. It was the speed of Stefan Rostgen that got him up into the podium positions, and it was the consistency when others had troubles that got Stefan the win.
It certainly was. There's still a battle though. Riley has caught on this last lap. He's got one chance. It's at Parabolica. Not defended by Gilly as he goes for the outside and outbrakes himself and spins it. That's a shame for Charles Gilly. He's got to get going because John Morgan is going to try and pick up a position as well. Superior overspeed. He's going to go by. But Charles Gilly has lost 2 positions on the final lap with one costly error.
And that's a case of you make your own luck. David Riley's, given it a shot and it's paid off. A costly mistake, exactly as you say.
Exactly as said, but classified results, well, they're going to be up on your screen right about now. This is how everything has finished here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, because Stefan Rostgen is 19.7 seconds the winner, averaging a second a lap quicker than his nearest rival, Bill Lawrence, who finishes in second. Andrew Fiedler had a day in the wars, but still managed to get himself into third, with Manning Grinnan also making a good recovery drive back into fourth. Gianni Raspaldo finishes fifth, with Gerard Valorisson in sixth, and with Joel Martin seventh, and David Riley stealing a position on the final corner in eighth place. It wasn't to John Morgan, who also stole that same position into ninth, as Charles Gilly spun at Parabolica, dropping himself 2 positions. Ralph Kemmerer and Mark Robertson, the last finishes on the leading lap, 11th and 12th. Drivers, a lot of them finishing a lap down. Remigio Pasqua, Richard Valley, the likes of William Lee, Jay Friels, John Unsby, Bruce Poole, Jos van der Ven, who spun from the race lead and had to come down and make a stop. Frans Brink, Richard Coulomb, Sklenka didn't have a good day, 2 laps down. PJ Sally and Ronald Overbay, both 2 laps down. And those who failed to finish, Fred McIntosh, Larry Thomas, Kenneth Baldwin, and Mark Lizon, both unable to make it. We're going to step aside though very briefly, fallout from race 1, as we start thinking about race number 2 in just a moment's time. Don't go away. Well, it doesn't get much plain sailinger than that then for race number 1, a race which seemed like for all the world it was going to build up to a last lap Titanic scrap, but ultimately faded away to the realms of yesterdays and the victories that we have seen so often in this race. The fallout from race 1 here in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures as we bring in Stefan Rostgen into the commentary booth. Stefan, it's probably one of the more tougher 20-second victories you've managed to have, especially with that battle you managed to get with Jos van der Ven.
Oh yes, I was a lucky guy. Just made a mistake, and then it was easy to home.
Well, mistakes certainly cropped up from a lot of drivers in that opening race. You find yourself with a victory over Bill Lawrence of 20 seconds come the end. But for you, you know, those last 5 laps, just being able to relax, being able to just drive your own race, how difficult is it knowing that you've got a pass and then you've got to sit in the draft and then you may be passed back here at Monza?
The only difficult thing is the last lap in this race. The rest is just driving, and overtaking on the long straight is very easy.
Well, those overtakes certainly are very, very easy, but you're looking at race number 2. Are you going to run it or not?
Yes, I will do.
Well, looking then potentially to try and take as many points as possible then away from your rivals?
Oh no, just for fun.
Just for fun, of course it is. It's the 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Why would we talk about rivals in this sort of sense? Stefan, before we let you go, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yes, thanks for RaceSpot, and thanks to the guys who make it all possible, and thanks to all drivers here.
No worries at all. Stefan Roschen coming home with the race victory. Bill Lawrence came home in second, and he's standing by with David Haynes.
Bill Lawrence, welcome to you. A little bit of a lonely race for you, almost, getting second place there. And how do you find Monza, low downforce, high speeds in this car?
Well, Monza's a great track. I really like it. And yes, it was lonely, but at the start, John Unsby and I were having a good little fight there. But after that, it was a little lonely. Yeah, it's nice if you can keep the draft with someone, though.
I suppose you'll take a lonely race if it means second place and those points. What exactly do you do for a setup for the Pro Mazda car for a track like this?
Well, we run a fixed set here, and so we have one of our guys makes up a set. And in fact, I think it's Stefan who is just outstanding. Nobody can touch him, but we're running sets that he builds, I think.
Awesome. And so what are you looking forward to in the next race, potentially?
Well, I hope we have a little, I'm in a pack a little bit. I'd like that for the second race now that I have some points here in second.
All right, great of you to join us. Good luck to you. Any shout-out sponsors, anyone you need to thank? Well, we've got you.
Well, I'd just like to thank 60 Plus. I'd also like to say hello and welcome to some new members that we have in the league. It was a good field today. So shout out to all the guys in 60 Plus.
That's awesome. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, there was Bill Lawrence. Third position was Andy Fiddler. Andy, day in the wars, but still one that gets you a podium. Just what happened out there?
Yeah, I'm surprised I actually survived that. I think I had a tussle with John Unsby to start with on this first chicane. And I had a 3 wide coming into the last turn, and twice, I think. So I don't know what happened. I was just sort of just holding my line and closing my eyes, really. Just kept going. So yeah, I was surprised to finish third, really. So I don't know what happened to Josh, but I know he was in second. So good race, good fun.
Yeah, very good fun in terms of an event, but you've got one more race to do, and after a third position finish, you're looking to try and pick up some more points when it comes to race number 2 of the evening?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I was going for that win, yeah. Or second, yeah. I was trying to do better in the second race. That's the beauty of it. We've got even if you do, poor in the first race, you've got a good chance in the second. So yeah, it's a good format.
A good format for you. Looking to try and improve on next time. Before we let you go, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Well, again, just, thanks to the guys who organise it. Thanks to you for doing the broadcasting, and thanks to everybody who makes it such a great league.
No worries at all. Andy Fiddler coming home in third position. Not a good day either, though, for John Unsby. John, 1 lap down, not where you really wanted to be. Just talk us through your incident.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. Is this working?
You're all live and clear.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got together with somebody there. It's probably my fault. He was on my right, and I didn't realize he was there. I thought he had dropped back, so that put me a lap down, and I came up a ways, but not a very good race. Hope hope the second one will be better.
And in terms of where you need to be, you were right up there in the championship picture for the last 60-plus Racing Adventures League season. You're looking to try and get that consistency again, but starting off on the wrong foot, how much bigger of a challenge is it going to be this season, knowing that you have to now come out and get a result in this next race?
Well, I was second 2 seasons ago and third by 1 point. That's about where I usually end up. So I imagine I'll end up in the top 5. Second race, I probably should have been third in this race, so I'm looking for at least a podium this time. We'll see.
Well, he's searching for podiums. John Unsby then, who did not have the best of days at all, eventually coming home in position number 17. But for the moment, at least, we're going to step aside once again here on RaceSpotTV because race number 2 is going to be coming up in just a few moments' time.
We're back here at Autosports International 2017. From Vegas to Birmingham, we're now joined by driver for Apex Racing UK, who states has 156 road wins and 11 oval wins. Graham Carroll, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi Will, thanks for having me on.
So I heard first of all you're a little bit poorly.
Out in Vegas, the second day I was there, I sort of came down with a sort of cough, sort of flu sort of thing, but we'll get over it,
Talk about Vegas itself. I mean, for me, the one thing that stood out is how you as sim racers were really kind of treated like racers and given that kind of celebrity status quite a bit.
I think the suits we got given and everything, you know, it was just absolutely amazing. Then to get a teammate like Jose Maria and Sam Bird, and obviously everyone got their teammates as well. And like you say, we were treated really, really well, and it's not like we sort of turned up as gamers. All the pro guys really sort of looked at us as competition and not just sort of gamers. So that was it was good in that perspective, and how they sort of organised the event and with the sort of visa and how Formula E sort of worked it out. It was really good, and it was for the minute sort of me and Alex arrived on the Wednesday. I don't think we had sort of 10-15 minutes to sit down. You know, the schedule was absolutely flat out, but loved every minute of it, apart from the race, obviously. But it was awesome, and hopefully it can sort of make sort of other competitions come out of it. You know, that's the big thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things is going to be future of sim racing. That was really the first time that we saw I'm going to call it the LAN way of doing it, compared to what traditionally we have in iRacing with everyone racing online. Do you think it's different? What did you enjoy running in that kind of LAN setting more to iRacing? What's the pros and cons from your perspective?
Look, I've always said that iRacing is the best of the best. The only thing that drew me towards it was the money, you know, that's the only thing. But there was, like, I was speaking to Gregor when we were out there as well, and he was one of the people that really hated like the input lag. It was one of the big things for everyone, and he really struggled with that. But it was good again to see all these really, really quick guys be on exactly the same machinery as everyone else and see who's who and who can adapt to it the quickest. And I've got to take my hat off to Bono. I've said that numerous times. He drove absolutely outstanding, you know. So it was there was some really, really good points, but there were some not so great points as well. But for sim racing as a whole, I think we need to stop talking about the bad points about it and just talk about the positives, because we're all trying to make this sim grow, make sort of sim racing grow, and that's what we're all trying to do together, you know. So that's the big picture here.
Well, let's move on and talk a little bit about your iRacing career. And of course, the key thing that we're going to start talking about is you participating again in the 2017 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. So for yourself, I mean, talking to Alex Simpson earlier on, and you are going to probably have the biggest team on the grid in 2017.
We've definitely got a few quick guys coming up through the Pro Series. They're doing really, really well. We've definitely got a strong team behind us. Again, myself, Alex, and Anton and Pete, and so many to name, to be fair. But it's going to be a good year, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck back in about it, and I think now that we've sort of met all these guys in Vegas and seen what they're all about, you know, it's time that Apex won a race and got a pole and all this kind of stuff. And I know I said it going into last year's one. I knew it was my first WCS, but we're not here to finish second, you know. We're here to win, and we want to be finishing right up the top this series. And I'll do the first few rounds, and if it's the Gregor and Martin show again, I think I'll be packing it in quickly.
Well, we're down to 12 rounds this season, so compared to the 16 that we usually use in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And I've just been given a promo by Motorsport Auctions, a global selling platform. Yeah, moving on. So 12 rounds. So the sense of urgency is a lot higher compared to previously, because it means that all of a sudden you can't mess up.
That's it, you know, I went into it as well. First round last year, I can't even remember, one of the Iberica guys just completely wiped me out first round. Excuse me. Second round, Phillip Island, I put my hand up, I had half a lap short of fuel, and then Sebring, one of the Radicals guys, wiped me out. So, and then I went on a sort of bouncy 10, numerous top 10 results that would have really, if you took the first 3 rounds out of the equation and just gave me an average top 10, I would have been ahead of Picala at one point, you know. So it's all ifs and buts, but when you look at it like that, that's what I want to make sure. I've had my bad year to start with, and now I need to know finishing, and just points are the main thing, you know. You've got to learn off these guys that have done it for 5 years straight, and it's time to do well, you know.
You talk about pole positions, of course. Radicals got themselves their first pole position last year in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. NX Racing scored themselves their first win with Yoni Tamala in the World Championship Series. And one of the things that we saw with the McLaren is that in many ways it proved to be a leveler. So we heard all the stories with the Williams that, the established teams have the advantage because they've been doing it for so long. The McLaren kind of wiped some of that out a little bit. So do you think that you can get a pole position at the very least this season?
Yep, I do believe it now. It's time. Got some new equipment, hopefully that'll help, and no, it's just the time, you know. We're not here to, like I say, I'm going to do the first the first 3 or 4 rounds and see how we get on, but I'm not here to be going about in 10th place or even 3rd or 4th place, but 40 seconds off the lead, you know. That's just wasted time kind of thing. So we're here to win and do well, and I think we've got the resources and the team this year to really do it, you know.
That is a bold mission statement. Now we're going to hold you to that. Race victories, pole positions at the very minimum then for Apex and for Graham Carroll. You talk about your setup actually. Talk us through the setup that you use for iRacing.
That I use at home?
Yeah.
Well, I sort of got a little sponsorship for the HE pedals for going out to Vegas, so I've got myself a set of them coming shortly, and I recently just bought a Leo Bodner steering system. So I'd like to think, you know, the steering wheel and the pedals is probably the best you're going to get at the minute, and there's nothing else apart from the loose nut behind the wheel that's going to make it go quicker, you know. So that's I'm not that I've blamed any equipment in the past, but just this is the year that we need to do well, and if there's a peak in my sim racing career where I've been doing well, I think sort of this Vegas thing has really given me confidence and really pushing me forward to do well, you know.
Well, let's talk a little bit more away from the World Championship Series. First of all, what else are you going to be doing on iRacing in 2017?
There's a chance I maybe do Blancpain. A team of guys that are in there at the minute that I've spoke to Alex about maybe jumping in, but we'll see, because I would never like to upset a team that's working well and going to qualify. But we'll take it as it comes. Not a big deal if we don't. Again, to be fair, it's just helping out Alex with stuff in the academy. I quite enjoy seeing drivers come through that and picking up speed and getting better and better. To be fair, any other competition that comes out there with cash, it's time to just attack it and treat it like Vegas. You know, like that was one of the things with Vegas. I treated it like a job. You know, I was on it 6 hours a day, and that's why I won the first round. You know, I was ready to go, and it really paid off. I know I never done well in the race, but I still walked away with $20,000. So any competition that there is this year with cash prizes and a decent cash prize, I'll be all over it.
All in for the money. Real racing as well, very quickly.
I will see. I developed a new Formula Ford car last year. Yep. I'm not too sure if we're going to do it again, possibly, but probably just the odd selected Formula Ford events, the big races here and there, and again, I'm making more money at sim racing than I am in real racing, so it's hard to go real racing at the minute.
And, well, that's one of the things, really. I want to, before we finish up, talk about what you learn on iRacing to take into the real racetrack, but also what you learn on the racetrack that you can bring back to iRacing. I mean, how much of a link is there?
Excuse me. Put it this way, I stopped real racing in 2008. When I ran out of money, I won the British Championship, and I went away from it for quite a while, and I went back 2 years ago, 2015. I won one of the biggest Formula Ford races in history, 150 entries, some of the best drivers in the world on Formula Ford, and I'd never have won that Formula Ford race without iRacing. And when you're battling with people and you're off, when you take off at the start or you're 1-to-1 and you're battling with guys, it is exactly the same parts of your brain you're using that you would do in real life, you know. So it just keeps you ultra sharp. When you change the setup in the car, it's the feeling you're getting. It's exactly the same you're getting in real life, you know. So it's so similar, you know. It's don't get me wrong. There's slight things, tyre models and bits and bobs that you have to deal with, but the core of it is just exactly the same. And iRacing do such a good job to replicate it. It's just such a key tool to me, to be fair.
Well, what I learned from this interview is pretty simple. If there's money involved, if there's competition involved, you will see Graham Carroll going up there for championships, for prizes. Before we let you go, Graham, we'll leave the floor to you. Anyone want to give a shout out to?
Well, just thanks for iRacing to coming over. It's been good to see everyone. And again, Alex at Apex Racing, just again for probably would never have been to Vegas and all these things without Alex. So and all my family back home and the girlfriend and yourself, Will. Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much. And thank you for stopping by here on iRacing Radio, powered by RaceSpot. You can come and see us at stand 6510 all weekend long. iRacing Radio, powered by RaceSpot. We're live from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Tweet us, use the hashtag iRacing Radio. We'll be back with more a little bit later on.
Race 1, fully in the books, but there's a different challenge on order as race 2 now starts to come to the forefront. Qualifying underway, 10 minutes, 2 laps to set the banzai that is absolutely needed to put yourself in the best possible position here in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures League. Of course, streaming live on iRacing Live and brought to you by RaceSpotTV. I'm #DoYouMindJake Sperry, the observer of sim racing, joined with David Haynes in the commentary booth. And David, qualifying, this is going to be tough because you talk about these chicanes. Yes, they're very difficult to get correct, but even more so when you have to talk about slowdown penalties and off-track incident points.
Yeah, indeed. There's a real finesse to trying to carry the speed through without overdoing it and bringing your momentum through some of these faster corners, through some of the slower, stoppy start bits. But this second race, a fresh qualifying session, a fresh start for everyone. There's a chance for redemption for some of the drivers who had maybe a poorer run in the first race.
And of course, that poor run in the first race accounts to a lot of people who are looking for a bit of redemption when it comes to the next 20-lap race, the last race of the day. And what's worth talking about is, although there are 2 races, there isn't 2 lots of points. So you could finish first in both races. You're only going to get 1 set of points. And that's what makes this 60 Plus Racing Adventures League tough. Because if you do win that first race, it is your prerogative to say, I can leave and not do this next race. I've done my job for the day. But you want to take as many points away from rivals as possible.
Yeah, it's an interesting little strategy, and I think, as we definitely heard in our interview with
Roasted?
Yes, correct. Sorry, that was a little huge mental blank there. Yeah, a lot of these guys, you know, the championship means something to them, but they're here for some good racing. They're here for a fun championship. So why would they go ahead and disappear when there's the opportunity of another delicious second race and some great wheel-to-wheel racing here at Monza?
Exactly, and we have been seeing that. We saw some good two-wide battling. We also saw a little bit of contact, which wants to be eradicated as soon as possible. The first driver, though, who will set a lap time in this qualifying session will be Mark Robertson in the number 43, making his way through Ascari and now looking to put the power down, and puts that power down beautifully as he charges his way towards the Parabolica corner. It's fantastic hairpin, very reminiscent of the final corner of the oval bank as well, as he gets on the brakes, right-hander, down to 158 kilometers an hour before putting that power back on again, getting as wide as he can to angle off the corner as he charges his way over to the line. And the answer is going to be 1:49.4 to start. Bill Lawrence goes quicker, though, by a good 0.2 of a second, as the first times now look to start coming in.
Yep, lone qualifying, these drivers get 2 laps, so if the first one isn't quite to their liking, hopefully the tyres are more up to pressure for the second one, the fuel load a little bit lower, and they'll be aware of the track conditions out there and can improve on their second lap that a lot of these drivers are starting now.
Yeah, and they need that improvement, and they need to find that improvement very, very quickly, as drivers are looking to try and find as many positions as they possibly can. And you're looking at the top 5 at the moment: Lawrence, Unsby, Robertson, Morgan and Baldwin. The way that it stands at the moment, Jos van der Ven down in just 8th position after his opening qualifying lap. It's a full second off of where he wants to be, which is not ideal at all for what he needs to be doing for this second race. It's almost as if he's fallen off the cliff with his potential pace, as Andrew Fiedler moves up into 6th position. And this is where the second lap becomes more and more important, more so because Stefan Rosgen has not started a qualifying lap as of yet. We are halfway through the qualifying process.
Yeah, exactly. Drivers like Jos van der Ven could potentially try and look after their tyres on their first flying lap and really throw all of it into the second lap, depending on the tyre pressures, depending on the track temperature. But yeah, that first lap from Jos, not where he wanted to be. And I think we might only get 1 lap for Stefan Rosgen.
We may just do, and that's going to be a little bit worrying for what he is trying to do and what he will be able to do, as Gerard Valorisson moves up to 4th position. Frans Brink now the fastest man, as Jos van der Ven 300 short of where he wanted to be in his qualifying effort, as Fred McIntosh crosses the line and goes 15th. Over the line, and now we're starting to think more and more who can make it. Andrew Fiedler, David Riley potentially looking to find a little bit of time, as Riley burns his way through Parabolica, currently in 17th position, hoping that there's a little bit more in the tank that he can get himself up a bit more. 1:55.1 says no, he can't. Andrew Fiedler, though, got 3rd position in the opening race, qualified 3rd in that opening race, and he needs to find himself a 48.9 if he wants to make it work. The answer is a 49.1, which puts him in 5th position for now. Remigio de Pasqua, he's on a lap as Rosgen comes out for his outlap, shall we say, looking to put in 1 Banzai flying lap.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of pressure on that 1 lap, but look at that top 6 or 7. Not a whole lot of time separating all of those drivers right at the pointy end. That's going to be some exciting racing right there. Those times are so close, Jake.
They are 0.2 of a second, split the top 7, 0.3 of a second, split the top 8 as things stands. Remigio de Pasqua, though, they're currently in 12th position in qualifying, crosses the line, does a 1:49.3, moves himself up into 9th position, but eyes, though, to the German in the number 60, Stefan Rosgen, who is looking absolutely flawless off of the back of last season and wanting to do it all over again. Crosses the line to start his flying lap. Let's go on board, powered by ATVO, the official graphics engine here at RaceSpotTV, as Rosjen charges at 233 kilometers an hour, looking to hit the brakes into the Variante del Rettifilo. Turns numbers 1 and 2. Very, very aggressive there, trying to get as much as he can out of turn number 2, and it didn't look brilliant actually. He half missed the apex slightly as he now makes his way through Curva Grande, opening out the corner as much as he can, trying to scrub as little speed as possible, hence the wider line as he now moves to the right hand side of the circuit, looking to hit the brakes as late as possible into the left right, locking up that front left tyre as he goes through the Variante della Roggia. Now to the Lesmos. Lesmo number 1, this beautiful right hander of about 85 degrees, or you then head yourself to the second of the Variante, or shall we say, the second Lesmo, and he's a little bit over the curb, but he's fine. You can abuse that curb a little bit. Small kick left now, up the hill you charge once more, and now towards the Ascari chicane. Of course, the legendary Alberto Ascari, 2-time Formula 1 world champion. Into the left he comes along, pretty nice and tidy as he now makes his way to the right and left again. He won't have time to set one more lap after this, and it doesn't look incredibly quick. It doesn't look like he's been pushing on this lap, and that's maybe a little bit worrying for where Stefan Rosjen is going to start in qualifying. He's maybe a bit too lax and has a lot of work to do when it comes to this final corner. Parabolica put the power down tight as he looks to keep on pushing to the line. He needs a 48.9. It doesn't look amazing as things stand, and as he crosses it's a 51.2. It's 19th. That is a banker from Stefan Rosjen. That is nothing to shake a stick at here, David.
Yeah, 19th position. Now, we know he doesn't really need it, but you were expecting better from him. With how tight those times were at the top, giving himself only one lap was maybe too much pressure.
Maybe too much indeed, but qualifying is over. The grid is now as follows. Franz Brink gets the pole position, 148.916. He gets it by 300ths over Jos van der Ven. Mark Robertson in third with John Unsby in fourth. Andrew Fiedler and Bill Lawrence will be on row 3 with row 4, Bruce Poole and Gerard Florison. Remigio de Pasqua starts 9th with John Morgan in 10th. Joel Martin and Kenneth Baldwin are on row 6 with row 7 spelt with Gianni Raspaldo and Jay Friels. Fred McIntosh, Mark Luzon on row 8 with row 9, David Riley and Ronald Overbay. Winner of race 1, Stefan Rosjen, starts 19th with Robert Skalenka in 20th. PJ Sally and William Lee, the last drivers who have set times. Manning Grinnan, Richard Coulomb, Richard Valley, Ralph Kemmer and Larry Thomas have not got onto the start or set a time as such, as we wait for the final cars to grid up right now. And of course, that inside line is the one everyone wants, the even numbered positions on the run into the Variante Rettifilo, turn number 1 on circuit. For Franz Brink, it's unfamiliar territory. He was nowhere in race number 1, but now he's at the front of a very, very charging field. Jos van der Ven, he wants to put himself in the best possible position. He doesn't want to spin again. Robertson finished almost a lap down. Unsby was a lap down, and Andrew Fiedler finished third. Green flag flies, and let's get going here from Monza for race number 2. It's a poor start from Unsby in 4th position as Andrew Fiedler will comfortably saw his way around. Franz Brink under pressure, too wide for second as Mark Robertson backs out of it on the brakes into turn number 1, the Variante del Rettifilo, and the bottleneck. The concertina happens and Rosjen gets a tap in the middle of the pack, and Mark Luzon gets turn half as he goes through that bottleneck. You have to check up almost to a standstill in the parking lot at times.
Yeah, it's a tight entry and it's 2 rather tight turns, but our leader Franz Brink got away well. Good start from Jos van der Ven, but Mark Robertson in third also got a really good getaway, just couldn't capitalise through the first chicane.
No, he couldn't, and there's a swarm now that Rosjen's trying to get through in the middle of the pack. One of them is Jay Friels. He will look down to the inside, trying to make that move, decides nope, not close enough, but having to defend now from Gianni Raspaldo, who started this one in 13th. He's not going to be close enough just yet to go and make the move, but crucially, draft in play for Jos van der Ven as he tries to get past Brink in the 53. He backs out of it though. He's saving already in this early stage. He wants to put the pressure on the 53, see if he can force a mistake of his own. This will only allow Robertson back in, Unsby, Fiedler, Lawrence, Poole, all in this top 8 who are on the leading train as things stand.
Jos van der Ven will be thinking, surely I can win this one this time. I just need to make no mistakes. I need to cut out those errors. I had the pace to maybe win in the first race, and now he's got a chance to show that pace.
Well, he has the chance to show it, but he's got to go and make sure that he gets 20 good laps, as now Mark Robertson decides it's my turn to get aggressive. Too wide down the front stretch they go. Draft favouring Jos van der Ven all the time, and both of them encroaching in on Frans Brink. Are they going to have enough room to go 3 wide? Van der Ven backs out of it. 2-for-1 special on offer. Unsby diving as well for 3rd place. Frans Brink loses the lead to Robertson, and crucially Unsby up into 3rd as Jos van der Ven drops backwards into 4th. Behind that though, Bill Lawrence making his way through on Andrew Fiedler. That one for 5th position. All changes. 3 different styles of move in one corner.
They really checked up into that first chicane. It was 2x2, a little bit of Noah's Ark. Good thing these guys have all made it through there cleanly. Now let's look for the rest of the lap.
And John Unsby makes his way up into 2nd. He's past Frans Brink now, up through the Variante della Roggia. So Brink is on the brink of going backwards right now, still with Jos van der Ven just there. Robertson pulling out to about a 7/10 of a second advantage. He hopes to have as Brink and van der Ven get involved into the Tarmco there at turn number 6. The second Lesmo. It happens just like that. And looking at it, Frans Brink just gets wide, slides, Van der Ven nowhere to go. He's speared into the tyres, and that is both drivers' day and done.
Wow, that is unfortunate, and Jos van der Ven will be so frustrated with that one. That's 2 races where he had a lot of pace, and it's just not worked out for him, unfortunately.
Same for John Unsby, and that's going to be, same for Frans Brink, you could argue. And that's not going to be helpful. It's opened this big gap as Andrew Fiedler's down the inside of Bill Lawrence, the 3rd position, and crucially moving himself up into that podium and scoring himself exactly the same points as he would do last time. But Bill Lawrence is going to come back on the noisy pedal and get on the aggressive factor as he tries to make his way through. There is a bit of traffic as the battle for the race lead goes on. John Unsby down to the inside and picking up the race lead from Mark Robertson. The battle behind, won by Bill Lawrence as Bruce Poole tries to get in, as does Remigio de Pasqua now, who goes for the up and under.
Yeah, and what's happened with that incident is it's let Mark Robertson and John Unsby get a bit of a gap ahead of Bill Lawrence. They might be trying to do a breakaway, but behind them, 3rd through to 6th, this is ferocious.
It is ferocious. De Pasqua, does he dare dive late? He does dare dive late, but Poole dives later and does a lot better. But he will be compromised on that exit, which De Pasqua will try and take advantage of into the first Lesmo, and he's not close enough to make that opportunity work for him. But most crucially enough, it's about survival in the early goings, because still looking to try and get as far forward as possible. We've been seeing a few drivers have a few issues, like Stefan Rosgen had a 2:13 last lap, and that one was a torrid lap by Rosgen standards, and I think he may have been involved in an incident somewhere on circuit there to pull himself back, but no matter, he will not play much part in this one. Andrew Fiedler now still with Bill Lawrence, still looking to try and make moves, and we're going to be seeing this a lot. You've got 3 packs of 2, and behind you've got Florence and Martin and also John Morgan, and John Morgan has himself a very, very damaged rear wing.
Yeah, that cannon is looking bent, and that's no good whatsoever. And that will be just hurting him down the straight line. Maybe it's not so bad through the corners, but that straight line pace, any extra drag, you just don't want it here. As they go side by side for the lead. Unsby is looking to the inside. Does not have enough of an overlap. Yes, he does. Oh my goodness.
Brave on the brakes, and he holds position for the moment against Mark Robertson. Fiddler and Lawrence battling behind, as is De Pasqua, who is through on pole. Now the train behind holds Kenneth Baldwin in it for John Morgan, John Martin, Gerard Florison. They all want to get in on the action, and they know they've got to keep on trucking. They want to try and get the results. Bruce Poole trying to get aggressive then into the Della Roggia, not close enough, but look at this green train. All part of the same team, Morgan and Martin and Florison, and they will all be working together to try and get themselves up to the next group of being Poole and De Pasqua, because they know that team's championship is very, very important.
Meanwhile, someone's around there. Who's that?
Oh my goodness me, there is.
Andrew Fiddler.
Right, Fiddler. There at the second Lesmo, which has caught a lot of drivers out. I don't think there was any contact. He completely broke away from Bill Lawrence, pushed too hard through the second Lesmo. Lucky he didn't take Lawrence with him there on the outside. And Andrew Fiddler now is dropped all the way behind Manning Grinnan and Fred McIntosh, who are battling it out with Gianni Raspaldo. That puts him in 13th position as things stand.
Curva Lesmo has caught out a few drivers. It's a really quick little flick there, and your momentum through that corner is critical down that straight towards Ascari.
Oh, it is, and we all know it is at the moment. It promotes Bill Lawrence into a lonely third. De Pasqua battling for 4th position. The last time he did this, he was out with a couple of laps to go. Bruce Poole down to the inside, looking to take the position away. For the moment, we will look away because Robertson is on the outside, trying to be the later man on the brakes. This time he gets a little bit more braver. Does he have an angle on the inside? He does, and he doesn't get close enough to make it work. Bruce Poole moves up into 4th place, crucially, and they are all being caught as now John Morgan loses a position, this time to Kenneth Baldwin. No surprises with the deficit in straight line.
Yeah, indeed. Now 4th through to 9th is one huge train to be a part of. And John Unsby and Mark Robertson fighting each other. What that's doing is that's not letting them break away. Those two guys need to play it just a little bit safer, pretend to be teammates just for now, and then they can fight for glory and that top podium later.
And Mark Lazon, I think, is done as he spins at the Variante della Roggia, and that shall be that. As Andrew Fiddler, I think, is dropped back a little bit as Raspaldo loses 2 positions to Grinnan and McIntosh in the middle of the pack. But more crucially than that, the battling between Robertson and Unsby is allowing Bill Lawrence back in, as, speaking of devil, John Unsby makes a big error through Ascari, and I just caught the ends of that through the trees with the cameras I've got. But John Unsby there, just going through the first corner of the Ascari, he does so well to avoid the wall. He had locked up the car, desperately trying to turn it away. He's done well, and he's still kept 3rd position here with De Pasqua just behind now in 4th.
Yeah, he bumped over a bit too much curb, and then that was a scary moment with all wheels locked up heading towards that green wall. But he'll fight on, but he has lost that his place in that lead pack.
Yeah, he's now 3 seconds behind Bill Lawrence, 4 behind Mark Robertson, and now Remigio De Pasqua goes down to the inside trying to make the move, but as we all know, Unsby likes defending, and Unsby has the position back again as he now leads this massive sprawling train, and behind that, here comes Andrew Fiddler down the inside, and on the brakes late behind that was Gianni Raspaldo trying to get past Manning Grinnan, too wide, too deep in this middle of the pack drive, and they both remain too wide as they charge over towards Curva Grande, and there was Andrew Fiddler proving why he is invaluable as an overtaker in this league, because he managed to pull himself 2 positions for the price of 1 down that straight alone with Grinnan heavily damaged. Here comes the move back again from Fred McIntosh. He's unable to do anything about it, but my goodness, you've got to look in 80 different directions to see what's going on in this last race.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent going on, and none of these guys are afraid to try and send a move. The draft playing a huge effect in that, as is that just That's like a metro train of high capacity drivers, 3rd through to 9th. What about who's that around? That's De Pasqua in Ascari has come unstuck as well. Looks a lot like what John Unsby did, because he just clipped too much curb potentially in the first bit of Ascari. We're on board with the replay.
It looked like he was losing it before Ascari even, so he was trying to get himself through the corner before he touches the curb. That back is stepping out. He's got the curb first time, and that vehicle is always turning. Lucky that he didn't get contact on the racing line, but all of a sudden he is now with Richard Coulomb and a long way back in 14th position.
Yep, and Bill Lawrence has gone through for the lead, I think. Is in that battle with Mark Robertson, and well, John Unsby lost his place in this top 2, and those two fighting was bringing them back towards Bill Lawrence, and now he is in this battle for the lead now.
He is, and he's now in the race lead as Mark Robertson now has to stay with him as long as possible. John Unsby is 4.4 seconds back of your race leaders, but now Kenneth Baldwin is the man on the move. He's just made his way at turn number 1 past Gerard Florison, and in fact he did it a long way before turn number 1. He did it actually at the Parabolica, and Kenneth Baldwin here just very quietly has siped his way past all those 3 green cannon cars and into the wall. Curse! I call a curse, because we were talking about how well he was doing. He gets himself to that second Lesmo, and that is the killer corner.
Yeah, indeed. That's at least 3 cars we've seen just in the broadcast where they flick it into that very fast second section of the Curva Lesmo, and the rear says, I don't quite have that grip in these track conditions, and around they flick into that inside wall. Wow, that's a real hot spot for action, and we're only on lap 7.
And of course, we've still got 13 laps to go. Hopefully, we will still have vehicles come the end of this event. Battle for the lead, though, between 2 teammates, Bill Lawrence and Mark Robertson, as now Robertson pulls to the outside, looking to make the move as they pass the second start line, and they go past that pretty much dead even, but Robertson is through on the brakes into turn number 1, and I wonder here, he who makes the least mistakes wins this event. It may come down to a last lap once more, but we have seen how it can't, and we're hoping that we see something come down to the last lap soon.
Yeah, indeed. John Unsby's caught these two just a teeny tiny bit. They are going to need to work together as teammates if they want to stay ahead and leave John Unsby in that draftless no man's land. That Bruce Poole has also sort of worked himself free of the pack behind him of Gerard Florison, Joel Martin and John Morgan.
Yeah, and those 3 teammates are line astern, and they will not have any argy-bargy between them at the moment. So it seems that we've got a lot of packs that are forming at the moment, and they know that they've got work that they need to do. I'll tell you another driver who will be charging through the field. That's Stefan Rosgen, who's now already back up into 16th position. He's got Valley, Coulomb and Sklenka just in front. This is a 3-car train here, and this one going off the 13th position. Not as aggressive as other packs because, of course, they are giving each other a lot of room, but Rosgen will slice and dice like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, he's got a lot of pace, which he showed in the first race, but this the second race has been a little bit odd for him, but I guess there's less on the line. But all these guys in front of him, Sklenka, Coulomb, Valley, they're all up 7 or 10 places from where they started, so they're having a good race to be in the mid-pack here and hopefully picking up some points.
Ding ding, battle for the race leads on again. Bill Lawrence going to the outside to make the move, prefers the racing line, and that much we can say, he will get a car length before they get into turn number 1. That much I can definitely say at this stage, as on the brakes they go, and that's pretty simple from them. They are going to exchange positions, I think, now until the sun doesn't shine anymore. So Bill Lawrence getting a good run out of that corner. John Unsby did chase down a lot of time, though, on that last lap. Very telling. But I just want to focus on Manning Grinnan for a second. Look at the damage on the front of that machine. That front right is absolutely buckled and bent for Manning Grinnan, and that's going to be hurting him a lot in a straight line, and that's why he's struggling to find a way past Fred McIntosh.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It's a key to success is just keep your car clean. And unfortunately for Manning Grinnan, that front right end plate is no more, and some of those elements looking very, very tweaked indeed.
Very is an understatement. It's a lot tweaked at this stage. Joel Martin, Gerard Florison, John Morgan, all three of them still battling. Florison has given up a position to Joel Martin, but now John Morgan decides, well, I want to get in on this. I want to gain as many positions as possible. Yes, we're teammates, but come on, I want as many points as possible for my championship as well. Looking to the inside, but backs out of it because, of course, the draft being helped there by John Martin. More that John Morgan starts to get aggressive here, the slower that Gerard Florison is going to get, and the further that Joel Martin is going to pull away.
Now, if you were playing a fruit machine or one of those kind of things and you pulled the handle and 3 green race cars came up, you'd think you were very lucky. But these guys, well, it's more than luck that they're running 5th, 6th and 7th. It's a good run from them.
It is a good run from them, and they've proven that it's a good run as the race lead looks to change once more here on lap number 10. Robertson to the outside and gifted by Bill Lawrence. He knows better than to start defending at this stage into turn number 1. You start thinking maybe with 5 to go, okay, now we start getting a bit more aggressive. I think they're still worried about John Unsby behind, who did a 49.1 on that last lap.
Yeah, critically for those guys in their ballet of trading 1st and 2nd back, John Unsby has stopped catching them quite as much.
And we had 3 wide almost in towards turn number 1. Grinnan got past Fred McIntosh, but McIntosh decided, nope, it's going to be a case of you got to get an apple off of me a different way. Is also trying to get in on that action was Gianni Rispaldo, but Rispaldo now looking here at this second opportunity, the second chicane, backs out of it, but Grinnan was so late on the brakes, but he'll have to compromise his run, and Manning Grinnan, I have never seen a driver that late on the brakes into that corner and still make the corner.
Yeah, and I think the lap before he was absolutely hopping over all of the curbs there. So if there is that damage slowing Manning Grinnan down just a little bit, boy, are they making up for it by just throwing it over the curbs and manhandling that Pro Mazda race car.
Well, manhandling is one thing. Stefan Rochejen has made his way past Coulomb Valley and Sklenka very quickly, and next up on the hit list, 6 seconds down the road, is Remigio de Pasqua, who he will be trying to close down. So Stefan Rochejen, who was at 37 seconds behind your race leaders at one stage, has brought that gap down to 33. Bill Lawrence, speak of the devil though, he'll be going for said race lead. He'll go to the outside, looking to try and make that move, and I think that it may be gifted here by Mark Robertson. And once more you will see he will fall back into line, and the changing of positions happens again. Defending though is Gerard Florison now, defends from his teammates as well, and still they keep changing positions at the front of this 3-car Lucky Green train.
Yeah, I mean, sort of rub your eyes, you know, is it that early? Was my coffee that weak? Is there really 3 of them? Yes, indeed there is. You're not seeing double or even triple. They're playing it rather cautiously, but it's always fun to battle with one of your teammates. It's because if you come out ahead, you can let them know about it for more than just the day.
You can. Gianni Rispaldo gets a slow down penalty at turn number 1. He was too wide with Manning Grinnan, way too aggressive though over the curb, and as such he has to slow down and let Grinnan go away in their battle. So he'll have more work to do to close that one back up. But more importantly than that, I've just had an eye on Richard Valley. He is down on pit road, and that is a very telling signal for Valley in the 69, and it was in the wall at the Della Roggia for Richard Valley. Just got loose through the first part, couldn't salvage it back in the second, and it was a heavy contact into the tyres, almost head on.
Yeah, that was painful, and I think, you know, upset the car in the first bit of the chicane, and then the pendulum effect, flicking it back the other way, lost control. Replay on screen. So he turns in left, he was just a bit too late on the brakes, and then when he tried to turn right, it wasn't going to do it. Boom, into the wall. That front left suspension is looking very sad.
was. And Joel Martin has just made his way through on Gerard Florison, and here comes John Morgan as well to add insult to injury. It looks almost like Lotuses having battles in the late 60s, the way that you see 3 green cars all trying to scrap together, open up some spirit, try and battle. Morgan decides against it then as Joel Martin gains position and happily gains position as well. Robertson back ahead of Bill Lawrence now with 9 laps to go, 8 when they get to the start-finish line. Do you dare attack back? Not yet, says Bill Lawrence. There's no point just yet in trying to fight back and gain positions. We've still got John Unsby who wants to get in on the action. So for now at least, it seems a little bit stagnant, but I've been keeping an eye on that Roche-Gen gap, and actually something has happened to Remigio De Pasqua over that last lap. Let's get a replay up on screen of exactly what's happened, because he was down on pit road and it was the key catalyst again, and he's been caught out once already in this race by it. Oh, he was heavy over the curb at Ascari. He caught policeman.
Yeah, hopefully we might be able to get that replay. Here it is. He's coming down the straight underneath that old banking towards Ascari. 6th gear gets on the brakes and just greedy with that curb. These cars low to the ground, not a lot of ride height. That's just upset him, and the momentum has spun him around.
It has spun him around, and he will not be happy about that, and that will be day and done for Remigio De Pasqua. But for the race lead, it's anything but, as once more Mark Robertson looks to be under pressure. Bill Lawrence goes to the outside to try and make it happen. A little bit late, but it is backed out of in the end by Robertson. He understands as much as they head in towards turn number 1. A serpentine behind, though, as here comes Gerard Florison down to the inside of teammate Joel Martin, and Martin very much says, you know what, it's all yours. At what point, though, between teammates do you say gloves off, as now Martin, with a horrible variante de Rettifilio, allows John Morgan a chance?
Yep, and behind them, Fred McIntosh and Manning Grinnan have been going at it into the first chicane as well. But I reckon, you say 2 laps to go, then, you know, all cards on the table, or, you know, all green race cars on the screen, whatever it is.
Well, whichever comes first, all cards on the table or all green cards on the screen. For the moment, John Martin understands that John Morgan does not have the capacity, it seems at this stage, to make his way through. Let's get your moves and shakers then inside your top 10 up on your screen. +2 for Mark, well actually +1 now for Mark Robertson, as it is +5 for Bill Lawrence. John Unsby is +1. It is +3 for Bruce Poole. Gerard Florison currently scored as +3, and the +5 for Joel Martin as well. Biggest mover though, Manning Grinnan, 23rd to 9th position despite the damage, and that's been very, very telling. And I think what's more telling is the lack of a Fred McIntosh all of a sudden from that leading group, from that group that we just saw. What happened to him? A big spin at Variante della Roggia for McIntosh, and there was contact between him and Grinnan. He was loose through the first part. Grinnan could not slow it down, and McIntosh does a big donut to get back onto position. Donut for the amount of points he's probably going to get out of this second race.
Yeah, yikes indeed. That's cost him a lot and given another position to Manning Grinnan, who is our biggest charger within the top 10 there, and is currently engaged in a battle with Gianni Respaldo for 9th and 10th. And those are 2 ferocious drivers as well.
And both of them being caught by Stefan Roche-Gen, who now lies only 30 seconds off of the race lead. Respaldo on the brakes, trying to get past Grinnan. Grinnan gives him all the room, but look at that superior traction from Respaldo. He does well to get himself exactly where he wanted to put himself right on track to try and make the next move. But Grinnan desperately trying to run that outside line if he's brave, and he has been brave on the brakes into this corner. He could give Respaldo a run for his money. How late do you brake? The answer is not late enough. Not as late as the vehicle behind of Richard Valley, who's just got out going, but lap traffic sign. Through will go Stefan Roche-Gen, and Roche-Gen now within 2 seconds.
Yep, lap after lap, Rosjan has been lighting up that timing screen. A light blue on my screen says he's the fastest car out there and has been for several laps. So with about 6 laps to go, he can absolutely catch these guys. They are well within range of his bubblegum coloured Pro Mazda there. He's got this.
And if anything should happen to any other vehicles, it may be just a little bit more, because Andrew Fiedler has just caught Captain Morgan and may be looking a bit punch drunk now on the way towards the right-hander of Parabolica, because that was as quick as you like. Andrew Fiedler was 1.7 seconds behind this train at the start of this lap, and he's through on Captain Morgan. Not only that, he'll line up for another move here as he looks to just sidewind his way past Joel Martin down to the inside. They've been dropped by Gerard Florison, and all of a sudden Andrew Fiedler is back on the charge.
Yep, and however you like your ROM, this battle is now well and truly spiced, because that teammate battle being broken up by Andrew Fiedler coming in saying, "Can I take all 3, please?"
And a
Contact!
seamless cut. They do. Martin and Morgan coming together on the exit of the Rettifilio, and John Morgan on the outside. Oh, it was dangerous there, but Joel Martin did not leave enough room. And let's be fair, actually, there to Joel Martin. All 4 wheels off the circuit, you don't actually have to give the position back or the racing room back onto the track.
Yeah, there'll be a discussion about that one over the dinner table potentially, or around the team trailer, whatever the case would be. But you know, that's always rule number 1 of racing. We say it. You know, don't take out anyone, but don't take out your teammate.
Oh, exactly. Stefan Rosjen, though, 2 wide to Lesmo 2, trying to open up the corner. Manning Grinnon's there as well, 3 wide. We're going to go 3 wide on the exit, and they make it happen. Zonta, like Hakkinen and Schumacher, as they now remain 2 wide. And can Manning Grinnon make the pick to become Mika Hakkinen? He's got the damage, though, so it seems that in this case, the German does prevail. Rosjen cuts the nose off as they head into the left-hander of Ascari. Brilliant work from Stefan Rosjen, and good, audacious driving there from Manning Grinnon.
Yep, in that bubblegum coloured car, Stefan Rosjan bites off a lot, but it is exactly how much he can chew. That was a brilliant piece of driving, a great move.
That's a fantastic move. Not only that, though, Andrew Fiedler is catching Gerard Florison in this battle for 5th position, and Fiedler has that gap down to 6/10, and he is reeling in 1:48.8 on that last time by. Surely that's his fastest lap of the day. It is just not by fractions, but look at this. Florison now under pressure on the run through Curva Grande towards the Variante della Roggia, and Fiedler angling on that outside, trying to maybe even get a bit of side draft if that's even possible, as now they do pull 2 wide, and Fiedler on that inside has the advantage. On the brakes he is more superior, and that is how you get 5th place and deal with 3 green cars.
Fiedler was not on the roof, but he did have the high ground, went to the inside there and really set that move up through the first chicane. He didn't attack, he set up to get on the throttle as early as he could, get in the draft, get that run, and then braked exactly where he needed to into the 2nd chicane.
It was over, Gerard. He had the high ground. But Bill Lawrence and Mark Robertson, keep an eye on this one, the battle for the lead. Now it will be 4 laps to go when they cross the line, and they have been trading positions pretty routinely, almost at the top of the lap. Every single lap it has been we change, we change, we change. At some point, something's got to give between these 2. Lap traffic could be that. William H. Lee is about to go 2 laps down here in this scrap, and they're both going to charge around, and Bill Lawrence now has Robertson going to the outside, and it's going to be a late move here on the brakes, and still Bill Lawrence gives it. Still Bill Lawrence says, you know what, I'm happy to trade.
Yep, that's the thing about the musical chairs between these 2, is that it's all fun while the music's playing, but when it stops, you know, there's a chair missing and only one of these guys can be the winner. So it's all fun right now, but this will get a little bit hotter as we get closer to the end of this race. But critically for them, they are continuing to just slowly build that gap on John Unsby, so they can play this game for now and not have to worry too much.
I reckon they can play this game to lap 19, and from lap 19, gloves are off between these two. Likewise, the gloves will be off between Florison, Martin and Morgan. They have 9 seconds over Stefan Rosgen with 4 laps to go. Rosgen did a 48.5 that last time by. For Joel Martin, who's just spun actually just outbroke himself even, heading into that left-hand right of the Variante della Roggia. That was disaster. He got air off of that big sleeping policeman curb. He called that all wrong. That will not do the floor any dangers. All of a sudden, Rosgen could be staring down at 8th position here on Joel Martin.
Joel Martin believes he can fly, but you don't want to be doing that. It pains me to imagine the sound of that underfloor of the car on that curb. That is not good for your critical underbody aerodynamics, and the penalty as well for cutting the corner, also no good for Joel Martin's race.
And not only that though, David, it's the fact that this 60 Plus Racing Adventures League has everyone over 60 plus. I would hate to see a hip cracked or a spine broken off of that sort of contact.
Indeed, and it puts Joel Martin absolutely within reach of Stefan Rosgen, who is now about 5 seconds back, 3 laps to go, but he'd been closing them up maybe even 1.5 seconds a lap. Stefan Rosgen can smell blood in the water. He's already up 10 places from where he started. Maybe he can make it 11.
Maybe it is 11, but mind games are starting. Robertson did not give the place back to Bill Lawrence at turn number 1. So Bill Lawrence is starting to play the waiting game here, and this is where Bill has to be right on it. He was slower in qualifying by 0.2 of a second. If all of a sudden Mark starts finding those qualifying times, and let's just be very, very clear here, 49.6 that last time by from Mark Robertson, he was only 0.5 seconds off of that, then Mark Robertson could start just piling that pressure on Bill Lawrence. Okay, you don't want to go by, then you've got to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to give a little shout out further down the field, because for 14th and 15th, Richard Colomb and PJ Sally are battling it out, and I think PJ has been closing that in the last few laps. You know, we've got this great battle for the lead. We've had some spiciness in the top 10, but it's awesome that you can look down at 14th and 15th, and these guys are still out there racing hard, racing hopefully fair, and having some good fun.
They are going to be having some good fun. PJ Sally not close enough just yet though to Richard Coulomb, but he knows that time is of the essence. Popsicle sticks in the air. We are 2 away at Monza. Gap 0.5 second for Bill Lawrence, who is now going to have to try and reel all of the draft in, and that gap closing down to 0.3, down to 0.2, down to maybe just to 0.3 as he smacks the brakes into the left-right of the Rettifilio, and Bill Lawrence now has to have a very good lap here, David. Otherwise, he will be sitting and duck on the last lap, and there was nothing worse than not being able to make a move on the last lap.
Indeed, and if you're the team manager for these guys, you're biting all of your fingernails down, capping all of your feet like Christian Horner likes to do. This is a slightly stressful moment to watch. Now, these guys have raced very cleanly against each other, but you just know that this is getting a little bit spicier, a little bit hotter, and both of them would like to win.
Both of them would like to win, but neither would want to take each other out. Robertson and Lawrence then, the pair of them scrapping it out for the race victory with 1.5 laps to go as they charge their way up towards... Oh, has John Morgan gone off? Sorry, I had an eye on it, but I had an eye on John Morgan, who got aggressive on the exit, caught the gravel, and around he went trying to save it. Morgan is now going to have to limp home, and that's going to be a shame for him in the final stages of this second race of the evening. But now we pay attention to the white flag battle, which will happen in just a moment's time between Robertson and Lawrence. Lawrence 1/10 away on the brakes into Parabolica, and now he's starting to think Turn 1. This is my moment to go down the inside and starting to attack. This is where Robertson has to defend for the race victory. They've got 8 seconds to John Unsby. To the outside goes Bill Lawrence. He wants to do it the long way round. Get the inside for the next part of the corner. Does Robertson go late on the brakes? No, he has better opportunities later on in the lap, which he can go and usurp out of the Variante Rettifilio. They come along, and now it's the charge towards Curva Grande and then the Della Roggia, which is next up on the list. And no run there for Mark Robertson, as he knows that Bill Lawrence will be safe for now. There are 2 chances after this. One of them is at Ascari, the other's at Parabolica, and you would prefer to do it at Parabolica if you must, if you are desperate, as he now tries to chase as much as possible. Little bit wide goes Robertson, but that's okay for the moment. That gap's still within 3/4 tenths of a second through Lesmo number 1, searching for Lesmo 2, but the dirty air effect now starting to hurt Mark Robertson, and he's starting to fall backwards here and struggle compared to Lawrence, who now opens up half a second's worth of gap, maybe a little bit more, which Robertson needs to try and close in terms of battles further down the pack. Rosgen's got past Martin and is up into 7th position, but for now Robertson is fading, and fading very quickly, because Bill Lawrence has just been majestic on this last lap, and he who laughs last longest, and at the moment it seems Lawrence is laughing longest at this stage. No more mistakes please, Bill. You've got just Parabolica to go on the brakes, right-hander, and there's nothing that Robertson can do about it, because Bill Lawrence is trying desperately to go, but they're going to go pretty much line astern and stage the finish, because Bill Lawrence wins against Mark Robertson. 87 thousandths of a second says it, but it was a poor getaway from him at the end, which made that gap close. Unsby is going to come home in 3rd place, with Bruce Poole a sensational 4th, a quiet 4th at the end of all of that. But David, a little bit lacking at the end, but one which Bill Lawrence had full control over, as Jay Friels has turned around on the final lap.
Yeah, exactly. When it mattered, Bill Lawrence put the foot down, got that gap, and then in the end, they've given us a nice photo finish. But well done to Bill Lawrence with that win indeed. John Unsby, maybe he could have won today. He led some laps, but in the end, Bill Lawrence and Mark Robertson put on a masterclass.
And heavy into the wall went Jay Friels, right under the bridge. And that has pretty much signalled the end of his race, when he'll be very, very hard done by that little drive. But the last of the vehicles are going to be charging their ways over to the line. And with that, let's bring you classified results here from Autodromo Nazionale Monza, race number 2. And it was a tough race in the end, but Bill Lawrence takes it. 87 thousandths of a second says he was the better man. Mark Robertson finishes in 2nd, had a chance, led on the last lap, but couldn't hold off the charge of Lawrence. John Unsby faded late into 3rd position, with Bruce Poole a quiet drive to 4th, with Andrew Fiedler catching him all the way in 5th place. Jared Florison finishes 6th, with Stefan Rosgen coming back from 19th and even further back on the opening lap to finish in 7th position. Joel Martin finishes 8th, Manning Brennan 9th, and Fred McIntosh rounds out the top 10. John Morgan, damaged late in the event, finishes no higher than 11th, with Richard Coulomb in 12th, besting PJ Sally by 7/10 of a second. David Riley, like number, is 14th, with Ronald Overbay in 15th, and Kenneth Baldwin in 16th position. Gianni Rispaldo is the last driver on the leading lap, and vehicles like Jay Friels had an incident on the final lap, with Richard Valier and Robert Skalenka 1 lap down each. William Lee was 2 laps down, Larry Thomas 3, and those who failed to finish, Remigio de Pasqua, Mark Luzon, Franz Brink, and a horror show for Jos van der Ven. Well, we have a few drivers who want to be here, want to get themselves talking, and one of them is Bill Lawrence. Bill, it's a victory and won by 87 thousandths. Tell me, did you pick up that run nicely off the Parabolica, or were you trying to stage something a little closer?
Well, we're a team, so that was an example of teamwork there, that last race. So we were communicating, and we were working together as a team.
And many people think that when it comes to a battle for a victory, that when you've got two people, teammate or otherwise, and you can be working as hard as you like, one person has to finish higher than the other. What was the protocol or the message between you two that was whoever finishes or whoever makes X move wins the race?
Yeah, well, we discussed that as we were getting close to the end. Simply, we didn't want to make a mistake, either one of us. So that last lap, I was pulling out about 8/10, which was about as large as I ever got on Mark. So coming into the last strip, he said he wouldn't pass me. We'd just go across together because I really had it, I think.
Well, you certainly got a great run, and well, it seems that for your little look heading to round number 2 actually, which won't be broadcast here on RaceSpotTV, you're looking to try and get a bit of early momentum. A victory puts you right in the wheelhouse for that. Is this a championship year you're starting to feel like?
Well, to be fair, I think there's so many good guys in here. John Morgan, Stefan, of course, Jos, Van de Ven. I mean, I could just keep going. So I hope I'm in the running.
We hope that you are indeed. Bill Lawrence picks up a very, very important race victory as he goes on. But of course, standing by with the man who finished in second position, David Haynes, you found Mark Robertson.
Mark, second place and a battle with your teammate. We've already spoken with Bill. At that final lap, did he just have more pace than you could muster?
Well, yeah, I would say that. And, I told him that I was going to stay side by side with him. I wanted Team Morgan. It's just been just a year since we lost Andy Morgan, and so I wanted to put Team Morgan across the finish line 2 abreast, so I thought that would be great.
It was a beautiful moment, looked good on cameras, and a dominant sort of display to say, yep, we've got 1-2 in this race. Do you think it's championship possibilities?
Well, it's awful early to be thinking about that, but I just take the races one at a time. You never know. My first race today was an atrocity, but I felt like I was able to come back in the second race and make up for it. But I'm all. That's what we're here for. That's what I'm going for.
Well, awesome job by you guys. Well, we've got you. Who do you need to thank?
Well, same as usual. Thank all the admins of this league. This is starting my 5th season with this league, and it just keeps getting better and better. Everybody's phenomenal. All the guys we race with are fantastic. We've got some new people coming in. We look forward to racing with them. And once again, thank you for the great coverage that RaceSpot does for us. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Congratulations, Mark Robertson. Second place in this second race. And I'll throw it back to you now, Jake.
Yes, thank you very much. And well, third position would go to John Unsby in the end. John, you got your podium that you wanted, and you'll be very happy about that, but it seemed that after having the lead and dropping back, you had that opportunity, and it just seemed that you couldn't pull yourself back into the overall might that was shown here by Bill and Mark.
Yeah, I was 4th and moved up to 1st fairly easily, and then I missed a shift at Ascari and got all squirrely, and so they got ahead, and I got as close as about 3 seconds, but then they started pulling away again. So yeah, it was okay.
Well, it was okay, and of course at Ascari it's always very, very scary when you get it wrong there. Just how on earth did you manage to avoid that wall on the inside?
There's other people talking. I didn't hear you. How did I avoid what?
The wall on the inside.
Well, I usually use 4th there, so I got down to the 5th and I missed 4th. So it got sideways and this way and that way. It was pretty squirrely. I managed to save it, though.
Well, managed to save it, and you have yourself a great opportunity looking further forward into the season, looking to put a good early run of things, and third position sets yourself up for that. What are you looking out of then for the next rounds of the season, heading up towards the midway point around round 6?
Well, I'm 70.5 now. I seem to have lost, I don't know, 4 or 5 tenths over what I had a year or two ago. So this is about the best I can expect to get on the podium, I think. I won, I think, 4 races 2 seasons ago and 1 last season, so I'm slowing down, I think.
Well, we'll hope to see you up there as much as possible then in your gentlemanly age, shall we say. But John Unsby then coming home in position number 3. But David, final thoughts before we wrap things up here in Italy.
Well, I guess a dominant display there by Team Morgan, and, you know, John Unsby, great effort, podium, well-deserved. Unfortunately, he just couldn't quite close in that pace. And, well, Monza, what a delightful track. No matter what car you bring here, you're going to get some good racing, be it these sort of entry-level single-seaters, be it GT cars, any kind of prototypes. Always great racing here at Monza, and we saw that in both of the races. They were exciting start to finish.
Oh, you bet they were. But unfortunately, that's all we're going to have time for here on RaceSpotTV. So to those that get it done for us, firstly to Anne Verne Designs, the official graphics partners here at RaceSpotTV, along with ATVO and Apgeneer, the official graphics engine here at RaceSpotTV. Live timing and scoring was brought to you by Nick Disson, with animations by Simon Grossman, and of course the cameras by Istvan Ballos TrackCams 22. Make sure that you check those out. And of course, that's not all that we have going on here on RaceSpotTV. Just a little bit later on, in about 3 hours time or so, we will have eNASCAR Ignite, the third playoff at Texas. Join Tim Terry and Justin Prince for that one, as well as the eSpeed Contenders Series, which will be going on from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The iRacing Rallycross World Championship will be heading to you from Sonoma, which you can join Jonathan Simone and Randy Cheneth as Mitchell de Jong looks to close in on his first WCS crown, as well as the next 60 Plus race October 17th at Bathurst. And make sure that you tune in to 2 fantastic events on the weekend. The first and foremost is Sim Racing Expo. That's this weekend, the ADAC Sim Racing Trophy, and of course, we'll be having action of the GT 500 as well, along with McLaren Shadow's first round in the MP412C. Join Jonathan Simone and whoever else joins for that one. But for the time being, that's David Haynes, that's Hugo Louise on cameras. I'm hashtag Do You Mind Jake Sperry, the observer of Sim Racing. Well, Roche's got a perfect start that he's wanted, but Bill Lawrence is hot on his heels. It will have to be a wait, though, a long wait for us, a good few months to October, before we find ourselves looking at where the championship looks next. See you then.